take attendance. Om Sahana Vavadu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam hitarthaya Tattvabodho bhidhiyate. Yeah. Page 38. Manaso devata Chandramaha Buddhehe Brahma Ahankarasya Vasudevah. Oh, forgot. Yeah. Ahankarasya Rudraha. Ahankarasya Rudraha. Chittasya Vasudevah. So, yeah, little mix up there. So, Manaso Devata Chandrama. The Devata of the mind is the moon. So, if the mind is acting up, who to pray to? Moon. Why moon? Because the moon, waxes and wanes. It affects the tides. Yeah. And if it affects also the chitt tides, the tides in the chitta. And so, you see, so if there is, if there is any kind of mental ailment, you see in the horoscope, I was telling you the placement of the moon. And if the moon is debilitated or compromised, then you have to do extra propitiations. So this is all, the whole connection. And full moon is a time which agitates people sometimes. Yeah. If people are agitated, you say, okay, where is the moon? New moon sometimes makes some people feel very empty. And then again, if some people are feeling depressed or empty, then you look at the position of the moon and then you say, okay, it will pass. And so this is what the whole thing is. So the moon is called Manaso Devata, the Lord, the presiding deity, which is seems to be connected to the workings of the mind. Yeah. And then what? Buddhehe. What is the presiding deity of Buddhi? Brahma. Brahma, not as in Brahman, because Brahman is not the deity. Brahma here as in the what? Brahmaji, the creator. And also by some other reckonings, they say Buddher Devata Prajapatihi Guru. Yeah, Jupiter. Why? Because it helps you come to the correct decisions. Brahma also okay, because it's the place where all great ideas are born. And since the creation is so infallible, so the Buddhi, which is the creator of all kinds of correct ideas, idea is that it is infallible. Buddhehe Brahma. Then Ahankarasya Rudraha. Rudra means to cry. Dra means the tears that flow. And each time when you cry, you will find that there is an ego that is hurt. You think each time when you feel hurt, why do you feel hurt? I am okay, but this person did this to me. Other people's omissions and commissions. Correct? I am okay. The ego will never say, I am not okay. I am okay. But if this person is not there, my life would be much better. Right? That is what other people's omissions and commissions. Then other people's commissions first. Then other people's omissions. First, why did they do this? That is half of the life. Then why did they not do what they were supposed to do? Supposed to means what? I expected them to do certain things, they didn't do it. How come? How dare they not do this? They should have done this because they are supposed to do this. Who says? My mind says, my buddhi says, my ahankara says. So there is the hurt feeling when the ahankara is, hurt. By what? By ragadveshas not being fulfilled. Yeah, ahankara is a storehouse or a monitor of ragadveshas, and it's keeping count. How many desires I have and how many are unfulfilled. Ahankara has a chip on the shoulder all the time. Yeah. And it has great memory. If you wanted to bear a grudge, give it to the ahankara. Yeah, it will bear the grudge for you. Next lifetime also you will be remembering something that was done. Yeah. So ahankara is, and what is this ahankara? Look into it. It's gone. It scurries away like a cockroach when you turn on the light and hides because it is nothing to talk about. I notion. What is this I notion? Can it hang around by itself? No. It's always somehow attached to the mind, connected to the body, connected to the omissions and commissions, connected to the sense of doership, connected to bhokta, connected to I did not get my due. Some hang up. Yeah. But if you hang up the ahankara, there are no more hang-ups. That is what should be hung up. And the definition of ahankara is what? Vicharam na sahate. Sahate means cannot withstand. What? Enquiry. You inquire into the ahankara. What does it do? It says, okay, I'm really not there. I'm not there. And so therefore what? The ahankara is seen as ultimately the one that makes you cry, because all sense of hurt and guilt come from a non-enquired into ahankara. This is very profound. Yeah. So when somebody says you didn't do this, you should have done this, why did you do this, why this thing, it's all from the storehouse of guilt and hurt, which has not been interrogated into. An unenquired ahankara is a stubborn ahankara. The more you don't inquire into it, the more it gives you the runaround. Yeah, it makes you not see what is objective. It robs you of the objectivity and makes you see only what you're afraid of. Yeah. What is it called? Self-prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So from the childhood there is a fear, and that fear only you'll start seeing. You're afraid it's going to come true. So you see that it's already come true. So this is the human tendency. When we don't inquire into the ahankara. So how to inquire into the ahankara? Two ways. And one way is already kind of mentioned here, and one way we know from other Vedanta classes. The first way to inquire into the ahankara is to, each time there is a feeling of intense hurt, guilt, pain, what do? We have to look into it and say, okay, this is not real. Yeah. Number one. And number two, this has nothing to do with the other person upon whom I'm projecting this, no matter how real that may seem. It has nothing to do with the other person at all. Yeah. It has to do with the past. Yeah. The past, I'm just enjoying as a old repast. That's all. That's all. Number one. And then the second thing I do is just take the time. Yeah. Things look better in the morning. Yeah. no matter how difficult they may look at night. Once you go to sleep, the next day you have to think, okay, what was I so worried about yesterday? You let the time go. And in the meantime, give up access to all social media, internet, outer net, etc. Yeah. Why? Because if you are in the outer net and if you have access to internet, then you may do something or say something that you don't mean. So we give up access to that. We do a internet fast and then you get back to it afterwards. Yeah, that is the commonsensical way to proceed with these feelings. And then the spiritual way to proceed is the one who is the devata of ahankara is called Rudra. And who is Rudra? The one that makes you cry. Meaning what? The one that is manifest in the form of karma phala. Karma phala, fruits of action. And how is this Rudra manifest? Because the Rudra is the one who does not let one inquire into the Ahankara. And that's why we did Rudram 11 times, for 11 days. Each time in that Rudram chant, there are 300 namaskaras. Namo, namo, bo, namo, 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 in all different swaras. Yeah. Namo Rudragata Tavine Namo Namo. Like this, Namo, 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 Namo. Three, if you really sit and count, I haven't done that, but I'm taking somebody else's word who did that, that there are 300 namaskaras and 300 names of this, karma, the Lord of all the fruits of action who makes one weep. Yeah, Rudra. And uh, and each time when you do this 11-day ritual, each time you hear Namo, you're supposed to do Namaskar. So 300 into 11 is how much? 3,300? Yeah. So every day you're supposed to do 3,300 Namaskars. Correct? Then you have the ambulance waiting outside. Because obviously there's a catch after bowing down 3,300 times one day. So imagine that 3,300 times one day and 3,300 into 11. What is that, Yeah. So at the end of 11 days, one is a noodle, correct? Yeah. One has dedicated the spinal cord to Bhagavan. But the idea is when you bow down, the goes. Because one has to learn humility. It doesn't come easily. Yeah. And all the difficulties that come in our lives is to make us humble. Humble doesn't mean that you stop respecting yourself. Humble doesn't mean that you become some kind of a self-effacing, erasing, I'm sorry to be alive, and I'm sorry to be walking, and I'm sorry to be talking, and I'm sorry that I'm so often so sorry. That is not the idea. That is one extreme. And the other extreme is what? I'm the ruler of the universe, Who is this Rudra? I'm the one who makes everyone cry. That is the other extreme. Life, my friends, is somewhere in the middle. It is in the middle, it's not in these extremes. Neither I am the scum of the earth, nor I am bigger than Rudra. Somewhere in the middle. So I learned to walk the middle road. And with the bowing down, what happens? That repeatedly when you bow, something happens. First of all, bowing, there is lots of benefits. Madhya Pradesh goes down. What is Madhya Pradesh? The middle state in India and the middle state in the body. Then the second, the second benefit, physiological benefit of bowing down is what happens is that more blood rushes to the brain. And we like that because it makes us think clearly. I am always for more blood rushing into the brain. Anything to straighten out this buddhi. Yes. And the third reason is, of course, more esoteric because in the bowing down, one, gains a certain attitude of humility and surrender, which is very important. Because in that surrender, what happens is that the truth, one sees the truth. The ego gets out of the way enough to be able to see the truth. And that's why we studied this Guru Paduka Stotram. I was translating it the last few days. It says, Nataha, or the ones are, Duri Krita Namra Vipattatibhyam. So all the difficulties are gone away for those who remain surrendered to the sandals. Remain surrendered. It's a present continuous. The present participle. Why remain surrendered? Because it's not enough to surrender once. That's why we have 300 namaskaras. Because once you surrender, then you get up. Then what happens? Then again the ahankara comes. So the attitude should be one of remaining surrendered. And that's why we don't do 3,300 namaskaras every day. We just do 11, even that was, difficult. And we do 11 every day. Why? Because we just mentally surrender each time the word Namo Namo comes. Mentally say, okay, Namaha, 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 Namaha. That is what is needed. So when difficulties come, it is a boon for the ego. Yeah. When difficulties come and they disrupt the ego from its mantle, it has a little place. If you have cats at home, they always like to look down on you. Yeah. They will go and sit on a hide like there or somewhere. They will sit and they will literally look down on you because that's their nature. They will look from high and say, oh, you poor lowly mortals. The ego is like that. It does acrobatics and it looks down on everything and everybody. And that's why the surrender is important, because, and the surrender doesn't happen when everything is going well. No, who will surrender? Nobody will surrender. Why? Because I am at the top of the world. Everything is going my way. What is there to surrender? You surrender to me. This is what the feeling is. When the difficulties come, we have to look at it as a blessing from Bhagavan to take care of the ego, to take care of the guilt, the hurt, the fear, the pain that is lodged through the misidentification with the ego. It is a blessing. So more difficulties means more Bhagavan has come to visit me in my life. That is one way to look at it. And even in English, what do we say? Adversity builds character. It's true. It's true. And so Ahankarasya Devata, Rudraha, the one that makes cry. And also the one that exhausts one's karma. I don't know if the karma is exhausted or not, but one is definitely exhausted. And then what? Chittasya Vasudevaha. Vasudeva is the one that is all pervasive. And so these emotions also are all pervasive. They don't let me think. They're always there. Me, look at me. Like small children, All the inner children are clamoring for attention and they seem to be there everywhere. I'm going to a meeting, but then I'm accosted by the inner child. What inner child? Of hope and despair. You're not going to get this job. Array, I haven't even gone to the meeting. No, you don't even bother. You're not going to get it. What have you got in your life? Nothing. You're a big zero, the emotion says. And then you see how the ahankara is connected to that. The ahankara says, yeah, that is true. Last time also I didn't get the job. The time before also I didn't get. This time also I'm going to be a big zero. And then what? Then one hacks oneself, You hack into your own ability. It's self-sabotage. And so you see the chitta and the ego are a wonderful pair. Yeah. And from looking from the point of view of Vedanta, they are a pair of buffoons, clowns acting out. But when you take them seriously, they are the greatest tyrants. Yeah, they take you and like lasso you into a slavery that is worse than, that's worse than anything. It's a horrible condition. So therefore, I have to de-link the chitta from the ego. Chitta is Vasudeva because it is all over the place. So surrendering to Vasudeva contains the chitta to just be what it is and not take it seriously. So this was having to do with the samashti upadhi of the sattvika, five elements which the mind etc. were born. Now we have the rajas elements of all the five elements, the rajas aspect of the five elements, and let us look at what they do. Etesham pancha tattvanam madhye akashasya rajasa amshad vagindriyam sambhutam. Yeah, from the sattvika aspect of space, what was born? The hearing, correct? Yeah. And from the rajasic aspect of space, speech is born, because the speech and the sound are connected, right? Yeah. It's like a telephone. One end you hear, one end you speak. And that telephone is just the element of space. It's like a telephone receiver. Yeah. So, you hold this. Yeah. I'm not calling anyone. Okay. I'm just demonstrating this. So you speak over here, right? And you hear here. So this is the hearing, and this is the speaking, and this is space. And the sattvika aspect is here, and the rajas aspect is here. So that is how it is. So rajas means what? The sattvika is that which is receptive. So hearing is receptive. Where speaking, you need some movement, correct? Yeah, otherwise you'll be sounding like a record which is going very slow. You need to move. You need to be quick with the words. You need to be, communicate what you're saying. You can't just sort of, if somebody asks you a question and you're just sitting. So they think you didn't hear. So they repeat. So, can you come for dinner tomorrow night? How long you're sitting? Like 25 minutes you're sitting like this. Then what? Then they just have to, then they quietly go away, thinking we don't want to be in the middle of this. Whatever is happening, hopefully they'll be okay by tomorrow. And quietly you make a mental note, I'm not going to visit this person as often as I think. Yeah. So from the A list, you put them in the B list mentally. Yeah, why? Because they're just not talking. So the talking is quick. Yeah. So that, therefore, what it is from the rajas aspect of the space that the organ of speech has evolved. Yeah, I mean, look, if the organ of speech wasn't into movement, none of you would be able to study Sanskrit. And how nicely you're studying Sanskrit and saying, Ramaha, Ramo, Ramaha, all this. How to say that even though you've never heard these words before? You've never heard these words, phalam, phale, phalani. And now passive voice, nothing passive about the passive voice. Very difficult it is. And, and everything is being studied. How? Because the tongue is blessed by the rajasic aspect of the space element, not the tongue, the organ of speech. Yeah. Next, kim tat vayoho rajasamshat panindriyam sambhutam. Yeah, pani means what? Water, correct? Huh? Pani is water? What is it in Sanskrit? Hands. Pani in Marathi is water. That is why I was playing a trick on them. Yeah. Pani means water in Marathi language. Yeah. That is why I was taking the Deshpandis for a little ride there. But, but Pani means what? Hands. Yeah. So the hands are born out of the Rajasic aspect of which element? Space. No, second one. Wind, air, Vayu. Yeah. Why? Because we keep throwing up our hands in the air. That is why. It's very clear why. Because there is movement. And I think that hands move a lot. Hands move while speaking. Hands move to do so many tasks. Hands are, connected to movement. So therefore Rajas, therefore Vayu. Vanhehe. Rajasamshat. Padendriyam. Sambhutam. The feet come from the rajasic aspect of the fire element. Yeah. Why? Because the feet have to run. Tiger! And then the feet are made from, let's say, the tamasic aspect. And what will it do? Yeah. 1 foot it will. Somebody will scream over there. Lion, tiger, man-eating tiger. Yeah. Then what do? 1 foot slowly comes out. Yeah, and then another foot slowly. Yeah, it look like how it is looking. How this whole class is looking like this, halting, halting. It cannot be like that. Feet means you have to be able to take off. Yeah, it is charged by it is blessed by the rajasic aspect of the fire element. Jalasya rajasamshad gudendriyam sambhutam. Yeah, so the organs of evacuation come from the rajasic aspect of the water. What is the rajasic aspect of the water? That which moves. So all the organs of evacuation, they have to move. Otherwise what? The kidneys fail. Everything fails. So it has to move. That movement aspect is in the organ of evacuation. Prithivya rajasamshat upasthendriyam sambhutam. Yeah, so from the rajasic aspect of the earth element is born the reproductive organs. Why? Because the earth also reproduces. All the plants and everything, that is the shakti of that earth. The shakti of the earth to bear new life is the same thing that is there in all the jivas, the shakti of the earth to reproduce life. Same shakti is there in the reproductive and genital organs. And then etesham samashti rajasamshat panchapranaha sambhutaha. Okay, so now this is the same thing. There is nothing much to say about this except we have to look at the order very nicely. And what is the order? The order here is very interesting. The order is that first we look at each of the elements and what is that aspect. First we started with sattva, then rajas, now we will see tamas. But the thing is that from the sattva element, individually what came, and then collectively what was born. Like from the individual sattva, we saw all these different, sense organs were born, and from the collective sattva element or the collective sattva aspect of the 5 elements, what was born? The mind, buddhi, chitta, and ahankara. So now we saw individually all that pani, padav, everything, the organs of action were born from the rajasic aspect of the 5 elements. Individually, and now from the collective rajasic aspect of the 5 elements, what is born? 5 pranas. Collectively 5 pranas are born, and then what? There's nothing much to say about that. 5 pranas are from the rajasic aspect of the collective rajasic aspect of the 5 elements. Further, etesham panchatattvanam tamasanshat panchīkrita pancha tattvani bhavanti. Yeah. So then he says, what happens to the 5? Now we have seen the sattvic aspect and the rajasic aspect of the 5 elements and how they are connected to the creation or the composition of the human body, and how the 5 elements and the human body are connected by the same law, And that law, when you look at the whole thing from that infallible law, that law is called the presiding deity or devata. Did you understand? Yeah. So Adhidaivikam means the five elements. Adhyatmikam, that is my own body, mind, sense complex. Adhibhautikam, five elements. Adhyatmikam, my own body, mind, sense complex. And what is the thing that connects me to the five elements? Adhidaivikam, which is that infallible law. Like what is the devata for the mind? The moon. Yeah. Moon means not the physical moon. Yeah. Moon means what here? The principle of that which waxes and wanes and which affects the mind, which reflects the mind. That's what it is. So that is how it is the moon. So the moon here, in terms of that infallible law, which both mimics and reflects the mind. So like that for Rudra and Ahankara, all these things. Okay. So now what has come from the tamasic aspect of the five elements? The gross five elements have come. And that is what is called a thing of the process of grossification. Because when we talk about the five elements, we are talking of them on the most subtle level. Okay? So we are now talking about it at the level of the gross elements. The student cannot stand it any longer because the teacher has talked for 5 pages lagatar. Yeah. So the student now asks a question. Panchikaranam kimiti chet. What if I ask what is Panchikaranam? So then the teacher explains. Etesham pancha mahabhutanam tamasamsha swarupam ekam ekam bhutam dvidha vibhajya ekam ekam ardham prithak tushnim vyavasthapya aparam aparam ardham chaturdha vibhajya swardha भिन्नेषु अर्धेषु स्वभाग चतुष्टय संयोजनं पंचीकरणं bhavati. So part of the final exam is this, you figure out on your own. This is part of the final exam. So what is the quiz for the final exam? You figure out this paragraph on your own. So at least you understood few things. What is that? Ekam ekam came 4 times. Ekam ekam, ekam ekam. And then ardham ardham also came 4 times. Ardham ardham, ardham ardham. What is ardham? Half. Ekam means 1. So now we are halfway there. This is a very peculiar thing, and I am really not understood why we need to know this, honestly. Except, except it is part of the tradition. I don't see whereas, except it is logically, number one, it's part of the tradition, and we respect the teaching tradition. Number two, it makes sense, logically. But beyond that, I don't see the need to know this, except that, you can impress your friends. Yeah. At the next party, you can say, hey, what is Panchikaranam? I don't know. What is that? Then you sit and explain, just as I'm going to explain to you now. Yeah. So there are 5 elements, correct? But they don't manifest in the same way as we know them to be. Like the wind. We know the wind to be like this. Something that we can sense with the sense of touch. Something that makes noise when it goes through the trees, That is not how the wind is when it was actually manifest. From what? From Brahman, from Atma. Correct? तस्माद्वा एतस्मात् आत्मन आकाशसम्भूतः आकाशाद् वायुः वायोरग्निः अग्नेरापः अद्भ्यः पृथिवी पृथिव्या ओषधयः. Where have we studied this? Atmabodha. No? Taitriya? Sure? Yeah, can't be Tattvabodha because we are studying this now. That's why I said Atmabodha. No, it's wrong. It's wrong, Taitriya. Right? Uh-huh. So, then what happens? So, Taitriya says, from this Atma, Akasha was born. From Akasha, Vayu, the air was born. From the air, the fire was born. From the fire, water was born. From the water, the earth was born. And henceforth, we have from the earth, the life forms like trees were born, vegetables. And the vegetables furnish the nourishment for the human body, which is from which the vegetables alone, from the food, the human body was born. And so this is how it is said. But then when the Taittiriya Upanishad says, from Atma Akasha was born, Akasha means space. But the space is not how we know space, because all the elements have their subtle and their manifest forms. What is the subtle form of space? Don't ask, okay? Because already even the gross form of space I have trouble with. Yeah, I'm spaced out thinking about space. So now how to think of subtle form of space? Just take it that there is a subtle form of space. There is a subtle form of air. There is a subtle form of the other three elements. Don't want to keep on mentioning all of them. So these five elements are there in their subtle form. And the subtle aspects of the five elements are what bless us with the ears and the organs of action, and the sense organs and the organs of actions, etc. Correct? Now the subtle things also now they have to undergo a operation, as it were, of grossification, whereby they come to abide on this universe, in a form that we can recognize. And that is the gross five elements which we know and take for granted are the gross five elements. And to recognize the gross five elements, we have to have some kind of a ability to objectify them. The subtle elements are very difficult to objectify. So the subtle elements, they, according to the Veda, have undergone a period, or this is all from the Aitareya Upanishad and the Prashna Upanishad too, both of them have this. They have undergone a period of what is called grossification, a status of grossification. How does that happen? So now we saw that from the subtle, from the what is that, sattva aspects of the five elements, the five senses were born, correct? And from the rajas aspects of the subtle five elements, the ability to move and all the organs of action were born. Now, what about the tamas aspects of the subtle five elements? From the tamas aspect of the subtle five elements, the gross five elements were born. How? Because the one half of the tamas aspect you take, this is where ardham came, correct? So out of ekam, out of each one, this is the way how we talk in any Indian language. We say go slowly, just give me small amounts and only one, this is how it's a repetition. It's called vipsa, repetition. So here also ekam means out of each one, and instead of each one we say one, half. We are very familiar with this. All the Indian language have taken from this alone. So from each element, you take half of the subtle, what is that? The tamasic aspect of each element, correct? So tamasic aspect, let's take space. So the tamasic aspect of half of space, right? And then what? 1/8 of the other four elements. Then what does it make? Gross space. This is called Panchikaranam, the mixing up. So the gross space is only half space, and 1/8 each of air, water, fire, and earth. That's why it is gross. That's why it is able to be there for objectification. Then, if you want to concoct the gross air, what do? Half of the tamasic aspect you take, and then the other you divide one eighth, one eighth, one eighth, and the other parts of the air go into the other elements. One eighth piece goes for other four, and then the other one eighth of the other elements come into the air elements, and then you are able to say, aha, this is the air. You know, it's grossified. And I hope you don't need me to go through each element. Yeah. Yeah. Namo Namaha. Yeah. So this is called Panchikaranam, and this is now henceforth what has happened after this. This is called Panchikaranam Bhavati. Let us see what they say in English just to have fun. If it is asked how the process of making each element fivefold takes place, then the tamas aspect of each of the five original, we should, instead of saying great, we should say subtle elements, divides into two halves. One half of each elements remaining as it is, yeah, vibhajya, that vibhajanam means division. And the other half of each elements divided into fourfold means one eighth, one eighth. The combination of half of each elements with one eighth part of the other four elements is called Panchikaranam, the process of making each element fivefold. Got it? Just say yes. Yeah, even if you didn't get it, say yes. Yeah, you have to. This is, this is making sure that this is the Veda makes sure that you at least have some basic mathematics before you go forward. Yeah. Along with, if one says, what is the qualifications for studying Vedanta? So you say Shama, Dama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhanam, and, Ganana. Yeah. Ganana means fractions, mathematics. Yeah. Okay. एतेभ्यः पञ्चीकृत महाभूतेभ्यः स्थूलशरीरं भवति. This is why it is important, because if we don't have the gross five elements, then we don't have the gross human body. The gross human body, or any body, not anybody, okay, any body is is made up of what? Any body is made up of the gross five elements. So that's why, there is space in the stomach when every 3 hours. Yeah, and that space I can recognize because it is gross space in the gross stomach, so it's all on the level of me recognizing. And then what do? I am able to hit the packet of chocolates, because why? 3 hours have elapsed. There is space in the stomach, correct? There is also fire in the stomach. Vaishvanara. We are seeing this in the Bhagavad Gita. I am the fire in the stomach, Bhagavan says. So the space element and the fire element do a little dance. And what does the Ahankara says? I am hungry. Feed me. Yeah. एवं पिंड ब्रह्मांडयोः ऐक्यं संभूतम्. Only to him, perhaps, not to everybody else. Let's see what he says. Evam means in this manner. The teacher thinks, he has communicated everything. Yeah. Evam, in this manner. Now what has established? The pinda means a small thing, a small little ball. What is this small little ball called pinda? Pinda is also the thing. You make a rice and sesame ball to offer to the ancestors on the new moon day of each month. It is called tarpanam. You offer your good karma. You say in this medium of rice and til. What is til? Sesame seeds. Yeah. You say, in this I put all my good karma, so that my good karma will give you a next life, a very good next life. I'm donating some of my good karma to you. So saying, you offer that. You invoke the rice ball to become fat with your good karma, and then you offer that for the ancestors. You feed the crows or whatever, you leave it on the riverside. And this way it is believed that the dear ones that have departed benefit from that good karma goes to them, and they get a better life in the next life. And this is called Shraddha. Why is it called Shraddha? Because the totally belief based, Shraddha based. Yeah. Shraddhaya bhavam Shraddham. So this is what it is. So that is called Pinda. So Pinda is also the name for any kind of a little ball. So the body of the Jiva is a Pinda. Yeah. Why? It is it's a good way of saying it. It's a ball of good karma. Yeah, to have this human body is a ball of good karma. So this Pinda was made from what? From the good karmas from the past. So my own good karmas made me come to this body where I can enjoy Vedanta classes, where I have a worshipful attitude, where I have the ability to love, where I have the ability to express all the emotions, where I have the ability to creatively desire, where I have the ability to do, to act, to know. All these things are a result of good karma, definitely. So this is called Pinda. Yeah. And then what? This is called Pinda. Pinda also means that, then, and the Pinda here he says, this human body, which is this little ball, from the point of view of the universe, this is a little ball. Yeah. You look at some photos, you look at some NASA photos. First they show solar system, sun is bada, big sun. And then they show the whole Milky Way. And then the sun just occupies a pixel. It is less than a pixel. And then they show other suns. There is one fellow called Betelgeuse. And in front of this Betelgeuse, the sun doesn't even occupy a pinpoint. Yeah, that is how big this Betelgeuse is. So, like this Pinda is small, Forget if the sun itself is so small. Think of the Earth. Think of North American subcontinent. Think of the state of Oregon. Think of little Eugene, with all its organic fixations, and think of this, think of what is that, West 27th Avenue. Think of this house and think of you sitting in this house. What? Oh, so small. One is not so, even small is not the word. One is minuscule. This little Pinda. And just before I start feeling bad, oh, I am Pinda. No, you are not Pinda. You are Anda. Anda means what? Brahmanda. Yeah. You are connected. You are the one with this egg of Brahman. What is this egg of Brahman? I did not know Brahman could lay eggs. When did it go cluck cluck? When did Brahman lay an egg? How did I miss this? It's just an expression, okay? Yeah. Because people will say all these things. Hiranya Garbha. They'll take it literally. This is the problem with modern Vedanta. Hiranya. They will look in the dictionary. Dekhenge kya? Hiranya means what? Gold. Garbha. Womb. Golden womb. Hiranya Garbha. Yeah. Where is Dottie? Yeah, she's there. So, Dottie is listening. So, so Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha literally means golden womb. So they will take it literally. And out Hiranyagarbha laid Brahmanda, the egg of Brahman came from Hiranyagarbha. It's all nonsense, okay? Yeah. This is all figurative. Yeah. Don't take it seriously. Egg means, what is the shape of an egg? Whole, full, complete, indivisible. Can you divide the egg, keep half for hatching and the other half for an omelette? No. That is why the egg is used, because it is whole. Yeah. That is what called Ardhandanyaya. Yeah. Half egg, non-logic. Yeah. So half, somebody gave somebody else an egg. This my chicken laid it fresh. Please take. Oh, thank you. What are you going to do with this? Well, it's such a lovely egg. I thought I'll keep half for hatching and the other half I'll enjoy an omelette. Is not possible. So here also it's indivisible. That's why things like coconut is used for puja. Yeah. Egg also. Parsis use egg. Yeah. For puja. Why? Because of that same thing, and you shake it, it is full, right? Yeah, it's got the albumin and the yolk. And similarly, coconut you shake. Yeah, it's got water in it. It's got that primal, what is that? Energy of creation. And so the egg, coconut, etc., become the metaphors of the universe. Why? Because the universe is also indivisible. Yeah. If you try to break Brahman in half, you get a mess. Okay? Don't try to do that. Scrambled Brahman is not fun. And you don't want it to be scrambled. Okay? Yeah. No scramble, no sunny side, no, none of that. Because Brahman is indivisible. So Brahmanda means the whole universe which is self-contained, out of which there is nothing else. Everything is within which, and in fact the terms within, without are also relative, because the within, without comes when you take space as a separate factor. Space is not a separate factor. Space also has come out of that alone. So you cannot say Brahman is inside space. You cannot say Brahman is outside space. What else is left? Only to get spaced out. That's the only option left. What is the only option? The only option to say space is non-separate from Brahman. Yeah. Space is that which has come out of Brahman. Space is Brahman. Brahman is not space. So this Brahmanda means the universe, this whole manifest Jagat is non-separate from this little pinda. Yeah, this little anda that I thought was me, is saying, is being linked to the whole, and it's just one and the same. Aikyam means not linked. Aikyam means what? Oneness. Ekasya bhavam aikyam. Yeah, just that there is oneness. For you, maybe teacher. What about for the student? Yeah, the teacher continues. स्थूल शरीर अभिमानी जीवनामकं ब्रह्म प्रतिबिंबं भवति स एव जीवः प्रकृत्या स्वस्माद् ईश्वरं भिन्नत्वेन Janati. Yeah. So now the question, then he doesn't let the student ask a question. He's, before the student asks, the teacher is ready. What is the teacher ready with? The teacher says, even though the Pinda and the Brahmanda, you know what Pinda and Brahmanda are, right? What is Pinda? This body, which is a result of karma, mostly good. And then Brahmanda, the whole manifest universe, along with its cause, are one and the same. You may say that it's a one and the same, then how come I feel different? If everything is one, I should not be crying, correct? I should not be raving and ranting and raging and panting and worrying and scurrying. I should just be fine. How come I'm not fine? Well, there is a reason for that. And what is the reason? The reason is explained over here. Let us look very nicely, very simply given, very beautiful, very profound. Because who is this Jiva? Jiva Namakam, Jeev Naam Wala, jo Admi hai. Jeev matlab what? Who is this Jiva? The one who is called Jiva is nothing but an extension of Brahman. Pratibimbam means a reflection. Reflection means what? Is nothing but, what is reflected? Like if you go and stand in front of the mirror, is the reflected face different from your face? Yeah? If you go and stand in front of a mirror, do you see a cat? No. Why? Because what is the face? That is only reflected. So what's the difference between the reflection and the face? No difference. Correct? But supposing the reflection had a life of its own, and the reflection said, just because every day you come and do like this in front of the mirror, I'm not going to do like this. And just because you say, oh, everything is wonderful, I'm not going to do that. Each time you do this, I'm going to do this. Suppose the reflection started to act out and had its own life. How would that be? Not very good. That's exactly how it is in the universe. Why? Because the one called the Jiva has separated itself out from Brahman. This is what the teacher says. Jivanamakam Brahmat, Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. But even though it's a reflection, it's the same as Brahman. There is a difference. Why? Sthula Sharira Abhimani. Abhimani means identified with. Proudly and stubbornly identified with. Yeah. Not just identified with. Stubbornly means what? Without a doubt, I know this is I alone. Who is this I? The body, of course. Body is me. Mind is me. Feelings are me. Ego is, of course, me. Stubborn because will not take any other point of view. Thinks this is the view. Will not be open to anything. Stubbornly identified. And then what else? And also wrongly identified. Strongly and wrongly identified. Because that is not the truth. What is the truth? Are you as good as the body? No. Why I have to answer? You should be saying no. After studying almost whole of Tattvabodha. Are you as good as the body? Ah, much better. Yeah, only few pages are left and I'm giving all the answers. So, one is not as good as the body, but the ego is attached to the body and saying, I am as good as you. And what is not mentioned here is Sukshma Sharira Abhimani. Yeah. Means I'm also attached to the subtle body, the senses, etc. And then I'm also identified with the Karana Sharira Abhimani, the causal body. What is the causal body? Ignorance. Yeah. Don't say I'm ignorant of the ignorance which is the causal body. Causal body is ignorance. It is the cause of birth. Very simple. Why is one born? Because of ignorance. Ajnanam. What kind of ajnanam? Ajnanam, chocolate ajnanam. Huh? No. What kind of ajnanam? Self-ajnanam. Self-ignorance gives rise to this body. So am I attached to this ignorance? Yes. Until one drops it, one is attached to it. That is what makes a people. That attachment to the ignorance alone is what makes people ask the question, how come I am ignorant? And somebody went and asked Adi Shankara that, how come I am ignorant? And Adi Shankara said, you tell me. That is where I learned it from. I'm also asking the same thing to you, Adi Shankara. I said, you tell me, how come you are ignorant? Then the man asked another question. And the man asked, where is this ignorance located? Because I want to get rid of it. So you please tell me where it's located. Meaning as though he'll take a broom and sweep up the ignorance wherever it is. And Adi Shankara's, what is that? Answer is priceless. You know what he said? The ignorance is in the one who is asking the question. The nature of the asker. The one who is saying where is the ignorance has already owned it up. Correct? And when you own it up, that means that owner-upper of the ignorance is the owner-upper of the causal body who therefore comes to the wrong conclusion. I am nothing but ignorance. I am ignorant. I'll never get this. I'll never learn this. Poor me, dear me, oh me. This is the sad situation. Very sad situation. So here, Sthula Sharira Abhimani Atma, it is given here. The I that is identified with the Sthula Sharira. Sthula Sharira means what? Gross body. And then by implication, subtle body and causal body. And this is the person who's called Jiva. Why is this entity called Jiva? Because doesn't give up the ignorance, continues to be born again and again. Jeev, to live. To live for how long? Indefinitely to live. Where? In the ignorance. So the one who lives indefinitely in ignorance is called Jiva. One full of thieves is also called Jiva. No, Piva. And Yeah, Brahma Pratibhimbam Bhavati, Sa Eva Jivaha, Prakritya, this is the one. Prakritya means by nature, by his own, because the setup is such, born in ignorance, and so by nature. Swasmad means from oneself, from himself, herself. Ishwaram bhinnatvena janati, knows Ishvara as separate from the self. This is the sad story of the Jiva. So, to the question, who is a Jiva? The one that separates itself from the whole is the Jiva because of ignorance. Oh, such a sad note. What is the pre-cap for Monday? What is the little preview for Monday? We can't end on this sad note. It will get better. Yeah, it will get better. Why the Jiva is like this? How to come out of this? All of next week we'll be studying in great detail. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Questions are there? No, she just said Harihi Om. Yeah. They're disappointed you didn't ask a question about Hiranyagarbha Doti. She says maybe there are no questions left. Okay. So if the body is made from good karma, then the disabled body does not have enough good karma. Technically that may be true, but we should not look at it that way, because the so-called disabled body is not really disabled. It is got it is what we call these days, the very nice expression, differently abled. So anybody who cannot see, you will find that their level of hearing is much better than those who can. And anybody who cannot hear, they have they have compensated in other ways. And so it's not like enough good karma or bad karma, and so we have to look at it more in the sense that there is good karma to have a human body. So any sickness, disability, yes, technically speaking, it is the result of some karma. Yeah. So next question, if we are born out of ignorance, is reproducing ignorant? No, because the thing is, question is, what are you reproducing? You are reproducing the ignorance anyhow. But then the nice thing is, you don't have to just be living in the ignorance, because the knowledge is there. To remove the ignorance, knowledge is there. Yeah. And if one is knowledgeable, there is nothing to reproduce. Correct? Yeah. Are we passing our good karma through reproducing? No. Your good karma is for you to enjoy. Yeah. And that being that comes through you will have its own karma. It's not like DNA. You pass on DNA. Yeah. But you don't pass on karma. Karma is for you to enjoy, good or not so good. Ah, good question. Nice questions. Then how will the body get the karma to be born? Aha, because the karma that enters the body is not through you, because the karma goes through the subtle body. I don't know if you logged on to the earlier versions of this class where we talked about how the subtle body consists of the 17 aspects. The mind, the ragadveshas, everything goes. It goes from one body and it waits, according to the Hindu and the Tibetan beliefs, it waits for the rain to come. And when the rain comes, the prospective jiva enters the earth and nourishes the food that is eaten. And then when the prospective parents eat the food, that kind of it's the karma of that jiva gets into the body to be born, gets into the womb, gets into the egg, into the sperm. That is how it is. This is just a belief because we have to account for it. Yeah. Thankfully, nobody remembers what happened. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Take attendance again and then turn it off.